Hey y'all, it's Renegayde, and I hope you're ready to spill some more reality as we get into the latest episode of RuPaul's Drag Race All Stars 9. Let's get into things right away and introduce our legendary, beautiful benefactresses who will be kicking with us tonight through all of the stars, styles, and spectacles of episode 3, Snatch Game of Love. Let's first welcome once again BB Zahara Benet of Renegayde's Drag Race here. It is Whiskers. Whiskers, how are you feeling tonight?
I am feeling like a beautiful BB Zahari Benet benefactress tonight. I'm feeling wonderful. Thanks for having me.
BB?
I was coming up with something there. I don't know what I was cooking, but
I mean, it kind of felt, I feel like we're in the Snatch game tonight because we're doing the podcast so quickly versus like last time where we had like a little bit of time to like really let it sink in and like maybe watch it a couple times. So we're just improvising. It's the Snatch game episode, so it works.
yes,
I'm here for
and
it. Okay, Ariana, calm down. Calm down. And also, let's go ahead and welcome back the Raven of Renegayde's Drag Race as well. It is QuackrrJack. Jack, how are you feeling tonight?
Well, I was doing pretty good up until the lip sync, but we can talk about it. We can talk about it. But I think I'm officially out of my congenial era because some of the things I'm going to say tonight are not so congenial.
Oh, wait, that was your congenial area before? We're having a mistress moment where she's like, I was in
Oh,
the congenial area. It's like, wait, you were being nice before? Just
oh,
kidding.
that was that considered mean? Oh my god.
No, we need to spill the tea because I think tonight, or at least one thing I think we were a little bit worried about, or at least I was a little worried about going into it with like the All Star 7 format, being in this season too, and it being the charity season, that there's going to be a lot of positive comments, and I think there was a lot of positive critiques this week, but I don't know if it was all necessarily deserved, but we can kind of get into that as as the episode goes on here. But we could go ahead and we could kind of run through where we started out this episode. And actually, before we do, Whiskers, I actually want to kind of give you the floor here because you were not on our episode 2 podcast here. And as tonight, Cody, he's actually not going to be available because he's celebrating his 6-year anniversary right now, which is like insane. How does a gay do 6 years? I can't get through 6 days. So, congratulations to Cody. But Whiskers, want to go ahead and give you the floor. So you can go ahead and kind of run through any like standouts you had from the last episode. And where you think, like, did you have any favorite looks there from the paintball, or did anything kind of stand out to you?
yeah, apparently had some controversial opinions. I don't know to what extent it was maybe talked about last time, but I liked some looks that maybe some other girls didn't like so much, but I mean, at the very top, I think was probably the same as most of us across the board. I obviously loved what Plastique and Gottmik were doing. I thought Gottmik's art look was probably one of the best looks we've ever seen on the RuPaul's Drag Race runway across all of the franchises, in my opinion.
Oh
But
no, I
I think
think we all
it's
agreed
up
on that
there.
one.
Yeah, I think like I would maybe even put it like top 3, or maybe it's even my favorite. Like just the effect it had, I just thought it was super cool. And it was probably very uncomfortable, and all of those Swarovski, is it Swarovski? I don't know. I'm not educated like that. But
Swarovski.
all those crystals weighing it down, and there was like a lot of effort and love put into it. So that was probably my favorite look of the night and of the season, and probably will be of the entire season. But I did show some love to Nina's monochromatic look as well. Maybe it was just I was giving it extra brownie points for it being Nina, and it being like satisfactory. So I was like, oh, it's good. But I don't know. I thought it was kind of fun, and like the message. I think it was about like hiding yourself and coming out of the closet. I don't know, protect gay art. So I thought it was a solid look, but I thought there were some good looks. There were some not so great, confusing looks, like Vanjie's Swiffer Sweeper, for her art look as well. But I don't know. I enjoyed it. Those are my quick Spark Notes opinions on last episode.
So if anybody is wondering why Nina's look just ranks so high in our ranking videos, you just go ahead and you just blame Whiskers there, okay? It is a group,
Okay.
it's a collaborative effort here. Okay, we just need to make it known. Jack and I it had to be made known here, right? Right, Jack?
I'm here for the discourse and only that.
Okay. As long as you're ready.
Well, speaking of discourse, I kind of thought when the episode started tonight, we were kind of in for it. So, because Angie kind of came in moments after being snipped, and she was in a little mood. She was kind of pouting, and I was just like, "Oh God, girl, please don't, Angie, please don't do this." Obviously, she was just joking. She ends up jumping out of her funk pretty quick here. But what did we think, Whiskers? I want your opinion here on Angeria being cut off. It's not blocked this week. You're cut off this season because you get snipped by your scissor sisters. What were your thoughts here? As Angie was kind of preparing to enter this week here with no possibility of getting a badge. So we initially thought.
I think it was a very smart move to scissor Angeria here. It had to either be Angeria or Nina, just strategically thinking, because you have to think, okay, it's going to be something personality, something funny coming right after a ball. So I think it was a good choice. But if like Angeria's mindset going into it, I mean, I think you can't let up at all. You can't be like, okay, well, I'm not getting a badge. So I might as well not even try. You have to still try because you could be the one that could use the scissors on the next person, and just by being in the top, you avoid getting blocked again. Like you could just be constantly blocked and blocked and blocked if you're not in the top. That is very unlikely to ever happen because if you were in the bottom that much, you probably wouldn't be perceived as a threat. But this early on, I could definitely see somebody getting blocked twice in a row. So you still, if you're Angeria here, you still have to kind of do your best. And I felt confident going in that she would. I didn't feel like that she would ever let up at all.
And you bring up a good point and something that was something I was worried about Angeria initially early on is the fact that it seems like sometimes that if she does get like negative critiques or if like bad things happen to her, it does seem like it kind of like weighs on her performance a little bit. And I feel like that's kind of like what happened to her at the end of the season last time when she kind of like ran out of steam kind of a little bit towards the end. I'm glad to see that at least at the start of the competition, she's focused, she's ready, she understands that there's still game that you could play here, even though you're not the one who's necessarily benefiting directly from getting the badge there. Jack, do you have any thoughts on Miss Angeria at this point, entering into episode 3?
I think Angeria is well aware that she is a threat. She offers a lot for her package, but I don't think she's been cocky about it just yet, which is good because some of the girls, in my opinion, maybe think a little too highly of themselves without like having a reality check when they get like that, first on going on thing. But she doesn't seem to have felt that at all yet, which is good. She's got her mind on the game, and I think for the most part, she's like making good connections with the other girls. So I don't see her getting constantly like snipped all the time. I think the girls are going to try to play it very similar to Seven, where they were just, handing the scissors around like, oh, it's your turn to get blocked. Yours, this is the plunger for you, girl. And they'll do the same with the scissors probably, unless someone takes a huge lead.
I agree too. I think it's probably going to be a pretty fair game, at least for the first few weeks. If maybe by episode 5 or 6, someone gets like 4 or 5 stars, we could see a situation where they become like a jinx situation where they might have to block them a couple times. But I definitely agree. I don't think anybody's going to get multiple blocked, especially this time early in the season. So I'm feeling good for Angeria here, and we get a little bit of foreshadowing before we enter the next portion of our episode here, as Nina and Shannel are having a little bit of a discussion, and they find out here that they have both brought Liberace as their Snatch Game character. And we've kind of seen this before in the past where everybody has, shares characters here. Like it's a very common storyline, it feels like, in these Snatch Game episodes. That, someone's gonna ultimately, regardless of how many thousands and millions of trillions of billions of people there are out there, we're always going to find the same one or two people that we're going to want to do. Um, so, Jack, I kind of want to know your opinion here when they initially brought this to our attention that Nina and Shannel both wanted to be Liberace.
Okay, so that was really funny to me because, you know, who's thinking about doing Liberace? And I think what it stems from is, throughout the years of Snatch Game, people have taken bigger risks. It was okay to start becoming a man as long as you were like very effeminate or you were very dramatic kind of thing. Like, if you're gonna play someone who's not a woman, you have to play someone who is funny or is very like out there and has a wit about them. And it's just hilarious that they chose Liberace because here you have what many see as like a gay icon. Like I didn't know much about Liberace or anything. I just I knew he was gay because like how you gonna have the name Liberace and be straight? You ain't. But like this man died in the '80s, kind of thing, in Palm Springs. Like it don't get much gayer than that. So
I
I
can
was
only
shocked though.
wish.
Right. I was like, can I also be in Palm Springs, please? But I mean, it's just funny because the two eldest queens in the room both be picking someone who like is a huge gay icon that I don't think anyone has ever really thought about doing before. So was it a setup? I don't think so. Was it the biggest coincidence ever? Yeah, but maybe that's the reason why we saw this alliance between Nina and Shannel, and it kind of proves that like they're not just doing this just to stay alive. Like maybe they really just are really good friends and they have very similar interests.
Mhm. I think it's funny too that you bring up to the age thing because I don't think it necessarily has everything completely to do with age. Although I do think I agree. I think the whole I remember growing up that I feel like people use Liberace as like a much more frequently. I feel like people use it in like
Hmm.
random conversation and versus like definitely have not a name that I have heard. I feel like in the last like maybe decade or two. So. Um, I could definitely kind of see where we're coming from as far as that goes. And I think it's kind of funny there too. But the one thing I kind of think is funny here too is that obviously they both prepared this situation. So they both went into this knowing that this is probably, what they wanted to do here. And we've seen in other seasons where like one queen will eventually back down. Like I mean, Donatella, Versace back in the day. I mean, like how many other queens can we name off the cuff here? I actually can't remember any right now other than Donatella Versace, but I know there's a lot of few. I mean, but I mean, just as recently as Canada 4, we did see both two queens wanting to do Jennifer Coolidge, and they both ultimately ended up doing it. Was it to one of their detriments and one of their benefits? Yeah, because they kind of got compared against each other, but Whiskers, I know you saw the Canada season, I do believe. So, what are your kind of thoughts of this kind of appearing in US and possibly being like maybe the first time we're going to see two queens being compared against each other?
Yeah, I know it was kind of something that we were mentioning in the watch through. Like, oh, I don't know if it's ever like there's always in the US season somebody's always kind of backed down. So I was kind of excited when I was kind of getting this build up that oh they might actually both do Liberace. I was more hoping that they would be literally right next to each other and maybe have a moment for some comedy there, like to out Liberace each other. I didn't really know what to expect, and we kind of had some hinting throughout the episode, like okay, maybe Chanel's gonna back out, maybe Nina will even back out, even though she seemed to be the more confident one. But I thought it could be fun to have two people doing the same character and somebody like Liberace as well. It's like I always knew of Liberace, I think, but it's not somebody that I knew really who he was. So it was somebody I had to pull up the Wikipedia article and do a little bit of research. But I kind of love Snatch Game for that, and I love when people do the characters like historical gay characters, like Liberace, even though he was in the closet while he was alive, apparently. Um, but it's kind of cool because you have such this wide array of mostly a younger audience as well. There's a huge younger audience watching Drag Race, and they can kind of learn a little bit about some queer history. So I love that Snatch Game is a staple of the show and that it kind of allows people to to get little tidbits of knowledge as they are being entertained.
Absolutely. And I definitely think that's one of the benefits Snatch Game has, especially as it's kind of evolved over the years. I mean, where we started out, season two, definitely not where we started out now, but let us all thank the iconic Tatiana for giving us the most amazing Britney impression here, because I think she really set us on the way forward here. So, queer history.
Hide the
Queer
cucumber.
history, y'all. Well, you bring up a point here as well too that I wanted to discuss because we find out that it's actually not going to be traditional Snatch Game that we get here. It's the Snatch Game of Love, which will be returning this season. Don't remember last time they did it. Maybe not season seven. I don't know. Did they do season eight? They did it last season. Yeah, I think they did it last season. What are y'all's thoughts on these kind of different variations of Snatch Game? Are you here for them, or would you just be okay with just basic Snatch Game happening all the time? Yeah, what's your thoughts on this?
I'm kind of fine with this. I mean, I think I prefer this like Snatch Game of Love for the All Stars rendition, kind of, just because there are fewer queens, uh, and you really want to give everyone the chance to shine. And in the traditional format, it can be a little difficult at times when there's so many personalities up there. But what I will say is that I think there's also like the other formats. Like we've seen kind of like the Family Feud version. We just saw on the Versus the World season. Wasn't a fan of that. Now, normal Snatch Game, would it have worked here? Maybe, but I think the Snatch Game of Love works really good, especially when we have two characters or two people doing the same character. I think that worked out really well because everyone got their own chance to shine, which was fun. That being said, I think that this cast, it really wouldn't have mattered if we had done a normal Snatch Game because the lows were low and the highs were high for the most part.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I don't think the format necessarily would have mattered here. But do you think there's any benefit to this kind of format versus, a general Snatch Game? Or do you have any preference over, just as a viewing audience member here, which one you would rather watch?
I am not a big fan of the Snatch Game of Love. I kind of like the traditional Snatch Game, and I think even for the All Star seasons, it's just my personal preference. I would prefer it to kind of be that traditional one. I think that's like the original challenge, and all of the queens are there in the same environment. They can all interact with each other and hear everybody else's answers right away. And I think that's maybe not the fairest way, but it's just I don't know. I enjoy Snatch Game in its original form the most. And I think like with some of the older seasons before we had 10 million seasons of Drag Race to have different Snatch Games, I found myself like looking up on YouTube like the Snatch Games for seasons like 4, 5, 6, and I would just watch them over and over again because it was such a moment to have all the queens there. And like yeah, some of them bomb, some of them do great. But I think the fun of it is kind of the messiness sometimes and the unexpectedness because that's when it's an improv challenge after all. So that's when the people that should win shine the most, I think.
hmm And I kind of am of two worlds. I do agree with Jack, in the point that at least in this particular group, the fact that there were two people that did pick the same character, I'm kind of glad that there was the Snatch Game of Love here. So at least, one of them didn't feel walked over, feel like awkward or whatever compared to the other one. But if I could be entirely honest too, I kind of also agree with Whiskers that I kind of liked that kind of chaos that we were kind of had going into, like I said, the Canada for Snatch Game, knowing that there were two people doing the same character. So I do think though that this was only for Chanel's benefit that it was split up here. I think Nina was going to do fine regardless. So I'm glad for Chanel, the fact that she's never been able to do Snatch Game before, that she wasn't kind of just thrown into the wolves, to, because she's never done this kind of challenge before. So to have her have to compete against Nina as, who clearly, as we'll kind of get into later, was in her element tonight. I don't think it would have boded well for Chanel at all. So I am glad, I guess, for this particular situation here, just because I want to see everybody, at least have a chance to do well. I think I'll side with Jack, but I do think that there is some, just novelty to just the Snatch Game format. And it kind of is a format that doesn't really need to be changed. But to kind of counter on something you said, Jack, I do think that the Family Feud thing could be fun if the cast is better at Snatch Game. I don't think UK
Yeah.
versus Roxxxy was that great of a cast when it comes to the Snatch Game part. So, and justice for Marina Summers as well too. Um, but anyways,
Damn.
that's another podcast. Another podcast there. Um, but as far as something I do want to talk about as well here too, because we get into what becomes pretty much the drama, I think, of the episode here, and what will likely probably be a storyline moving forward here is that they introduce a twist that they did have in All Star 7, but they introduced it a lot earlier this season in that they have decided that whoever wins the Snatch Game, the top two, they will get two badges, one for themselves and one that they could give away to another queen. Now, Whiskers, I want to know what your initial thoughts were when you heard that this twist was in play at this moment.
Yeah, I mean, like everybody, I was surprised that it was so early, just because what we've seen in the past one season that they've done this kind of season structure. I was surprised to see it so early, but I'm glad they're kind of switching it up a little bit, keeping it kind of fresh, or as fresh as they can with a similar format that we've seen. But I think it's good because I feel like last time in the all winter season, it was kind of just clear cut. Like, okay, it was pretty even and everybody was getting their badges. Maybe this season we'll see somebody stockpile some badges and have a lot, or I don't know. I just think it'd be nice to have a different pace to the overall competition. So I think this adds some spice. Maybe they'll do more switch up things again. Maybe they'll do the thing where it's doubled and the person that wins actually just gets to keep both badges later on, kind of like they did for the very last challenge on All Star 7. So I think them mixing it up this early on bodes well for maybe some more twists later on in the season.
I was wondering initially in my head, like, is this too early here for it happening? But based on the fact that it is a charity season, and the fact that there aren't real eliminations here, I do think this gives us some great moments for some storylines to kind of take forward here, to allow the queens to kind of really get some kind of strategy going. And I do think we kind of see that as a result of this episode that strategy does kind of come to the forefront here, which we kind of get into some specifics later. But Jack, I kind of want to know what your initial reaction was when you heard about the double star twist here, or sorry, double badge twist.
Uh, God. So like, part of me was kind of happy, but then part of me was like, because I feel like we're seeing some similarities between this season and like All Star 7, where there are some queens who like maybe won't be able to get as many badges like by themselves. So maybe it's good to like for the ability to keep things more equal. But at the same time, like I don't want to see like girls possibly get a chance to be in the top four because they were gifted a badge, like no one really wants to see that. But at the same time, then there are the girls that like we all disagree with. We all have our own opinions, and we're like, well, this girl should have won this challenge, or this girl should have been at the top of this challenge. So it's like, there's ups and downs, and it really kind of depends on who gets the badges to give away and who they give it to. Now, I mean, in seasons past, when this happened in season 7 of All Stars, we saw like Evie get a badge, and I think it was pretty clear throughout that season that she wasn't necessarily like the one to beat. So maybe we'll see a similar kind of thing go on with some of the other girls, like I don't know, Vanjie, for example, who's like not performing that well. It's going to be interesting depending on how the girls end up giving out the badges.
Want to get into some specifics of strategy in just a little bit here because they do get into some actual strategy talk here, which I was kind of like, ooh, this is giving me Survivor vibes. But I want to go and just jump into actually the Snatch Game of Love here. So we can kind of go ahead and get into some thoughts on that because that was pretty much what happened next here. We do get again to how it works here is they'll be split into two groups of four, and they'll each have a different snatchler that they will have to impress, who will eventually decide which one of the four they feel is the queen for them, and then they will choose the winner. Most of the time, this person ends up being the winner of the challenge. Not all the time, but generally, if you get picked by the Snatchler, we're kind of looking at you as probably someone that's gonna get a badge. In our first group here, we have Angeria as Marla Gibbs, very famous actress. I remember her from The Jeffersons here. Very famous sitcom actress here. We have Roxxxy playing as herself as Pasta Salad, which I thought was kind of hilarious, kind of a cheap call, I will say. I think she notes it herself here that it was meant to be a safe performance just to get her through it, so I can't be mad at that. But also, I just want to say, please, queens, do not be self-referential at this moment here. If you came out like episode one doing something, and you're gonna try to like imagine at this point like Monet Exchange coming out as like a sponge and being like, I'm gonna brand myself as the Sponge Queen. Be like, please don't, no, don't be a sponge for Snatch Game. Um, we get our first Liberace next with Shannel, and then we also have Jorgeous, who is technically playing John Leguizamo's character, or sorry, John Leguizamo. I don't know if anybody actually knows how to say his name, his last name here, but we're just gonna call him Chi Chi, because he's playing Chi Chi Rodriguez, the famous of the trio of drag queens from Tu Wong Fu, Thanks for Everything, Julie Newmar. Which, if you have not seen, oh my god, go watch it. We need to have a watch party night for that, like immediately, because I've just realized I have not made anybody in the Discord watch it yet. So we're gonna do that. We're gonna do that soon. We also find out that their very first Snatchler is Kevin, and when Kevin walked out, I'm like, who the fuck's Kevin? We find out it's actually Monet Exchange at a drag, and I was like, oh, it's great to see Monet here. I love Monet. Let's go ahead and get into our thoughts here of the first group. Jack, I know you have opinions. Go ahead and tell us.
Oh, I have a lot of them. Okay, so let's just flat out start it out. First of all, I mean, Georges could be like the one that Kevin chose kind of thing, but Georges was not playing a character. Georges was playing themselves, and I think that is totally fine. But we can't act like Georges did well. That is a damn lie. Georges, I don't even know if Georges knew at first who the character was. I think someone maybe mentioned Tu Wong Fu to her. She saw the movie and she said, I'm gonna play that character. She got up on that stage and then realized I didn't practice for this character because I just remembered that this character is kind of messy but funny. And I think of myself as like that. And I was like, okay, Georges, I see what you're doing. Was there characterization? I don't think I can go that far. I don't think I can say that there was much in the looks department really. It wasn't really giving anything, so I was kind of shocked that she was picked. But that's enough roasting, I guess, for that. As far as Angeria, I actually really liked her performance, but I think her quips for other people and what they said was a lot funnier than like her actual performance as the character. Like her character performance, like the quips from like other people's jokes or what they were talking about, she was a lot funnier interacting with other guests than in her original answers, in my opinion. But she still did a fantastic job. That being said, I think she, in my opinion, this is my opinion, I know this is going to be a controversial take, I think she was outshined by Shannel because I kind of believed Liberace in this performance. I think both Liberaces did well, but in this performance, I think Shannel really gave us like a true to the character. And as her first time doing a Snatch Game, I was rather impressed because she's never done this before. The closest thing she did was All Stars 1 when she did a Lucille Ball impersonation, which was pretty good actually. So I was excited for her to get this opportunity because many of the other Ru girls have had this chance already. And finally, we have um shit, I forgot who Roxxxy, that's who I'm not talking about. So
Wow,
Roxy's
imagine
vocal talent.
forgetting your girl Roxy.
I'm not forgetting Roxy. I was just
It
forgetting which
explains
girl
the
I had.
performance.
That's, I couldn't remember which girls I had talked about because I was like, I started from like, I went 4, 1, 3. So like, instead of going in 1, 2, 3, 4 order, I was like, which one haven't I done? And I had to think about like what number I hadn't done. So as far as Roxy's, I disagree with you about the Tasha Salad thing. I think it was a good idea. I think she knew it was safe. Like I agree with you at that part that like she could do it. I think because she even admits it in Untucked, but I don't think it's like a bad thing necessarily to do a callback to a character you've done before, assuming that it can be funny. Her original Tasha Salad was funny. When she did Tasha Salad on All Stars 2, I think what she really struggled with there was she didn't have a partner like everyone else in that challenge. And then in this challenge, like, I thought her performance was fine. Like, it wasn't the best, it wasn't the worst for sure, because let's be real, there's a lot of bad ones this today. We can say it's like not as memorable as other girls, but it definitely wasn't like a bottom three stinker kind of thing, because we have plenty of other girls to talk shit on for that, right? Well, I shouldn't say talk shit, I should say to judge, because they are here to be judged. Maybe not by us specifically, but we are allowed our opinions. I thought Roxy did a great job for the most part. We know this isn't in her wheelhouse, but she at least tried, and she gave us a different character than just playing herself, which I think a couple of the girls can't say immediately. It's like a yikes. Um, but that being said, I generally enjoyed the first group. It wasn't as strong as the second group's number one like killer, but you know, what are you gonna do? Overall, the first group was fine. Still don't know why Jorgeous was picked. Maybe just the flirting going on, but it was a pretty good group overall, I have to say.
Mhm. And Whiskers, what were your thoughts here as the first group was going here?
Yeah, I mean, Jack, you just said that you thinking Shannel was the best might be controversial. To me, I don't think that's too controversial. I really liked what Shannel did as well. Um, I don't know if she was my absolute favorite in this group. I think it was a solid group mostly overall.
Yeah.
Um, but Chanel, I thought did really well. I mean, I mentioned earlier, I just knew the name Liberace. I didn't really know anything about Liberace until the kind of like looking him up and his history and everything. But you could feel that Chanel was really embodying the character. And like when Rue gets it, like, and it's an old character like that, you kind of know, like, okay, she's doing well or she's doing badly. And it seemed like Rue was responding, so you could kind of tell that Chanel was doing well, and I enjoyed watching it. So for somebody that hadn't done Snatch Game, she did very well. And I mean, she's like old school. Like I figured she would be fine. Like thinking on her feet, and like she's a professional. So I knew Chanel would probably be fine. Was a little worried, obviously, when it was doubling up on the Liberaces and having somebody like Nina being the one that you're going to be compared to. But I thought she did well, and could have had a chance for maybe being in the top. Definitely not top two, so she wouldn't have been lip syncing, but she was definitely on the higher end, at least in my opinion, for overall performances tonight. And then maybe like tie, I'll say Chanel and Angeria tied for my favorites in this group. Um, but like what Jack said, I agree. I think Angeria shined the most in her kind of most improv moments when she was responding to somebody else, or I think she kind of got like hotter and hotter as she went on through the performance, and kind of had more time to cook, as the kids say, because it was a little rocky at first. I wasn't too sure about how it was going to go, and started off with some answers that were fine and were good, but I was like, okay, maybe it'll just be a flat performance. But then I didn't really know who this character was too much, but obviously she brought Angeria into it a little bit, and it was always gonna have charm. But if it was gonna be like actually making me laugh, I wasn't sure. But I got some chuckles in, and I thought she did a really solid job with it. And then I would say my next favorite. There's a big drop off after after those two for me in this group. But I actually think I almost enjoyed Jorgeous more than Roxxxy. Like Roxy's performance was fine. It was safe, like she mentioned. I'm not a big fan of her bringing Tasha Salad back again. I loved the Tasha Salad character in her original season. Obviously, it was great. I love that she referenced it in All Stars for the roast, because she was kind of in a pickle there. You don't put pickles in salad, but it's like a vegetable, so almost. So she kind
Try.
of brought that out and was able to do that. I thought that was a good idea. Then to bring it back a third time, I know we're some time removed from when All Stars 2 was, but I wasn't as big of a fan of bringing it back again, and the fact that it was so safe, it was just like it was whatever for me. But it was fine. She's a professional, and it was a good performance. And then Jorgeous, it was kind of messy. She definitely had no idea who the actor was. Maybe she hasn't even seen Tu Wong Fu. I don't know. But I didn't hate it, and I don't know. It was definitely just Jorgeous in Chi Chi makeup from the movie, and her like flirting with Monet, but kind of. But I did. It wasn't my least favorite performance of the night. We'll just say that.
I mean, I uh, the George's character. It was funny, yes, but I'm also and obviously better than her
Was
Alana
it?
Glazer from her last one. She had some funny moments, or a funny
Uh,
moment or two. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not. No, I don't. I didn't like it whatsoever. Like I'm not like ranking her high whatsoever. She was easily my least favorite of this group, but. Like I feel like she was doing everything that probably Rue would want her to do, even with this character. Even though I'm like, I think I said this in our watch party group. I'm like, this is not the character whatsoever. Like, yes, there's like an element of Chi Chi flirting with people, but like that she was much more, mundane about it and whatnot. So it's just like her just being like, "Gate me," and all things like when that's the only thing that she's literally said the whole entire season. I'm just like, eh. And so like her getting picked, I'm still very, very, very confused. But at the same time though too, I mean obviously it was just the first group. We have a whole other group to go here. So my thought process at that point was okay, everybody in group one must be losing because I cannot believe that Georges would be actually literally considered the strongest out of this group. Um, I think Jack was right. Angeria definitely had the best clips out of the group here, and something felt like she felt a little like a little weird, a little uncomfortable initially at first, but she definitely felt more comfortable and eased into her performances as it went along here and became a lot more funny. But I think you were right. A lot of her comedy came from the fact that she was responding to these people, or responding to everything that was going around her versus the actual questions, which honestly isn't a bad thing, but obviously, if you're able to do, everything, that makes a stronger Snatch Game performance here. So for me, I wasn't getting what I really wanted from this group. Shannel, I would say, was probably the strongest for me as an overall character as well too. So I do agree with you as well too. But she definitely was playing it in a way that was a lot more probably realistic to maybe how the character would have been back in the time, which I think isn't a bad thing to be a lot more accurate, have a lot more accurate portrayal. But when it comes to the Snatch game, I don't know if it necessarily resonates as well. So that's why my thought process here with her performance was it was never going to be a top two performance as well too. So while I think she did strong, and I think there is definitely a case to be made for Chanel, there's a case to be made for Angeria here. I do think I was going into group two probably being like, okay, I think we are going to get a show from this group, and I was half right. Half of group two really shined, and I think half of group two was there. They were there. So for group two, we have Vanjie as Cleopatra, and as we would all like to know, why did she come out wrapped in a carpet? Anybody? Anybody?
Why was she in a carpet?
Girl,
For
I
what?
can't. I don't
What
Why?
is
even.
that reference?
I was like, is she confusing like Magic Carpet Ride with Egypt? Like,
Yeah,
what is
is she
going
giving
on? And
Jasmine
I
right
really think she
now?
had
She
no
could have
fucking
wrapped
clue.
herself in toilet paper and it would have made more sense, like with a mummy.
Right?
She should have
That would have made so much more sense than the
should have called
carpet.
her ex Brooklyn and asked her for her mummy outfit real quick, but
Right.
she wanted
Yeah.
to be the character. Like, blah,
Oh,
pop
ah.
out of it.
We'll jump into our visual reviews. I just had to ask about that carpet though, because the carpet was like, what the fuck, girl? Um, we also have Nina as our second Liberace of the night. So if the children did not know Liberace by the end of this, they will know Liberace now. Something tells me our children, we're going to see children named Liberace based off of the viewing audience of Drag Race from this season. So, guarantee you 2025, the name Liberace will probably spike in the name for children everywhere. We also have Plastique, who is in this episode. I totally forgot that she was here this episode. But she's here, and she's playing Ali Wong, the famous comedian here. Which choices. I think she's maybe referencing the character from Ali's TV show Beef, which I'll be honest, I've never seen it, so I did not get the reference. But maybe somebody else did on the panel, who knows? But our final member of Group 2 was Gottmik, who I think has one of the most interesting choices I think I've seen in maybe Snatch Game history, playing Cow, who is the original dog that played Lassie. And she comes out with the prosthetics, and I would say, as far as anybody who's put in like the effort to look like these characters, um, Gottmik's look here could be probably top two, top three in the history of Snatch Game. I was honestly kind of more mesmerized by the way she was looking and the way she was like acting and performing, more so than I was kind of paying attention sometimes to what she was saying. So I was very here for at least half of this group because for me Nina really came out to play here. Nina was in her element. Nina did amazing. She just had a funny joke after funny joke, and she took things a lot less seriously uh, than I think Shannel did, and I think that really paid off for her here, especially me because it's Snatch Game. And then I kind of already touched on Vanjie and Plastique, but I was not featuring either of them whatsoever. Whiskers, what were your thoughts here on the second group?
Yeah, I mean, okay, in the last group I went favorite to least favorite, so I'll start least favorite to favorite here. And I would have to say Plastique was my least favorite in this group, which I mean, she can't slay every single episode, so you gotta fall sometimes, and this was her episode to fall. Um, I don't know her character too well, but I guess she's friends with her in real life, which I feel like never is a good idea to do that. I don't maybe not never, but I feel like somebody that you know and respect and is going to be like watching and maybe even sitting next to you watching the episode. That's a lot of pressure to put on yourself right off the bat. And if you're somebody like Plastique who maybe knows they're not going to always be the best in the comedy improv department, why would you pick a comedian where you're going to be like just based off of who your character is expected to be funny, like, and have jokes equipped? So you have to be so prepared going into it if you're going to pick somebody like that. And Plastique, maybe she was prepared, but it did not translate, and it was not funny. It was kind of cringe and awkward at moments too. So that was my least favorite in this group, unfortunately. And then next least favorite, there's a big gap between the two bad ones and the two good ones again in this group as well. But Vanjie, and Vanjie is only above Plastique because she came out in a carpet and it was stupid, and I got to laugh because of that. It's like, why is she in a carpet? But I mean, and she was just, she had some funny moments because she was being Vanjie dressed up as Cleopatra. So it was funny because, of course, it was funny because Miss Vanjie is funny, but there could have been so many more references. I feel like she didn't really do her homework that much and just thought, okay, it'll be great because it'll just be me and I'm funny. And yeah, she is, but like to successfully do that and to win Snatch Game, she could win on her star power and her comedy alone just because of who she is, but she had to have done more research. And if she was smart like in putting it into a few jokes, I think Michelle even gave her this critique, like if she combined some of the Vanjie-isms, for lack of a better word, with some actual Cleopatra stuff and that stuff that happened in her life, it could have worked. It could have been a lot better, but it was not, unfortunately. And then next, the top two are very, very close for me in this group, but I would put Nina in second place in this group, actually. Our other Liberace, I think she played it more like Snatch Game than the other Liberace, because naturally we have to compare them. She played it more like Snatch Game and had more funny moments and more jokes than Shannel did. As far as impression for Liberace, like I said, don't really know Liberace too well, so I don't know if like we don't know, we don't have the context of knowing if it was an actual better impression, but I feel like we could all kind of tell that Shannel did the better overall embodiment of Liberace, and Nina had the jokes and kind of played the best Snatch Game. So I think she was good. She was solid. Nina is a talented comedian, so we knew she was going to be funny with it, and it was good. And then Gottmik was, I think, the biggest surprise of the night, obviously. Just completely out of left field, playing Lassie, which is an old character, but I feel like Lassie is a name that everybody knows. I don't know about the kids these days, maybe, but like growing up as somebody who's Gen Z, kind of Gen Z millennial border. Like I know Lassie. I knew the name Lassie growing up, and I knew the context of it, and I knew that it was a collie that like saved little boys from wells or something. I don't know. Like I knew it was a TV show, so I had more context than I had for a lot of Snatch Game characters in the past with Lassie. And it's something that nobody else would have thought of, and just playing it as Gottmik did, as like an old Hollywood like woman that was kind of like smoking a cigarette and tired of it all, and like I've been in the business for 24 years, and like that whole character, that was so smart, because you're taking a dog so that you can have the dog have any personality. And I think she chose the smartest possible personality for this dog to have, because it fit in with the time, it made sense for the references, the makeup was obviously great with the prosthetics. It was funny. It was referential. It was like one of my favorite Snatch games that I've seen. I don't know where it ranks as far as like a top 10, a top 5 for me. I'd have to really think about that. But I was very impressed with Gottmik tonight.
Oh my God, trying to come up with a top 5 right now would be almost impossible.
It's
Um,
hard, yeah.
there's a lot that come to mind here, but yeah, I think that among the pantheon, we can now stick, Gottmik as pal, and possibly the other Liberace here. What's your thoughts here, Jack?
So I have kind of similar thoughts. Let me also go from like least to best here. That'll probably make it easiest. Um, so Plastique, we all agreed, was a mess. I don't think she even knew what she was doing as a character. I don't know if it was that she just didn't have things prepared, or she got stage fright, or what it was, but it felt like RuPaul gave her that beef joke from the get, and that was the only thing she had the whole time. I even felt like her character, if you want to call it that, like just was so flat that I couldn't even understand what was going on. And like unfortunately she's next to Gottmik and Nina, so it was a rough time. But again, you mentioned, you know, some people are gonna have like rough weeks, like where it's not like their strongest suit. And Plastique was basically top tier in the last 2 episodes. So like getting one bottom ranking episode isn't too bad. Right. So hopefully she just learns to breathe a little bit more and let herself go. That being said, right above her barely, because I think she made like one funny joke, might have been her entrance line, was Miss Vanjie. That Cleopatra was disrespectful. It was so rude. It was it was like she had heard the name Cleopatra, heard Cleopatra was a queen, and then said, "All right, I'm Cleopatra." Like she didn't know basically anything about like Mark Antony or like anything that she had done or whatnot. Like all this shit was happening, and I was like, "Did you do research on this? Like, are you ready for this moment?" Like, I really just felt like she just picked whatever she said. Let me be a queen because I'm a drag queen. Picked a name out of a hat and went with it. It was. If we're gonna talk about not memorable, I really can't remember what she even said that made me laugh like that. I was like, damn, how did I put her in 6th place over here? But I remember the other two being worse, so I'll give her that. Now this is where it's gonna get a little different from y'all's feelings about it. I think Nina not only outshined Gottmik, but I don't think there was even a question. Nina was by far the best of this group, and she slayed everything. There was not like she took every opportunity she could and more, and just started to like hammer at these girls, being like, "And I'm gonna say this, I'm gonna say that. I've got this, this, and this to say." She was having a ball. I was having an amazing time listening to her and watching her. I was like, "Wow, Nina, you finally done something that was like proving you were worth coming back," kind of thing. So you should feel really good about yourself. Not that I'm trying to like tear her down in this moment, because I know that sounded kind of shady, but I was like, this is like what she was like born to do. This is your thing. Like, go for it. Like, I loved it. It was so funny. It was so hilarious. And it was a completely different Liberace, which was, I think the best part is like, I really enjoyed both the Liberace performances. Like, one was more on the nose, and one was more like, "I'm queer and I'm Liberace back from the dead," kind of thing. Huh? And I was like, yes, Nina, you gave me so much life. I thought it was so amazing. Um, Now that being said, uh, she clearly was my top for the week because of that. Gottmik, on the other hand, I really enjoyed Gottmik's performance. Let me start off by saying that. But this is where things get a little controversial for me. I don't like the character choice that Gottmik made necessarily. I think when people make up characters that haven't already been established, it can go well, but I think there's a limit. I think there is a limit. And I just want to like mention that we've had a couple of characters that have been made before. Like, we've seen Trinity the Tuck's Devil, we've seen Tsunami in the most recent season. She did the, what was it, the Golden Tooth Fairy or whatever, and that was something. We've seen Kim Chi make Kim Jong Un's like sister kind of thing. Like, we've seen like a lot of these different characters, and it is fine to like come up with a character as long as you can sell it. But I kind of got a feeling that this character was funny, but it didn't give me everything I needed. Right? Like, I loved the whole aspect of, she's like a Hollywood star from the glamour ages, and she's telling us her experiences, and now she's a little bit older. I love that she had a cigarette. I thought it was funny, but I feel like where it missed the like nail for me, and why I edged out Shannel to be like my second place pick for the Snatch Game performances, is just I felt like a character like this as a dog. Like, I don't know, if we're just gonna give like anyone a random personality, like, I might as well go play a cactus, right, or something, and give it a personality at this point. Like, there's something to be said about, it wasn't too far maybe for me, I guess. Like, and it's probably just my opinion, but I just felt like the makeup was great, the outfit was great, the personality was great, but at the same time, it didn't it just didn't hit in the same way that I like a character, I guess, that we have some basis on maybe would have, or a character that we know something about. Like, the only thing you know about Lassie is dog, save bitches from wells, found people, maybe save someone from a fire or something. Like, I don't know everything about Lassie, because like, that's, I mean, I've heard of Lassie, but it wasn't like this amazing thing. I do think it was really creative. I do think it was something that maybe only she could have thought of, and I want to give her props. But I have, just to explain that, like, I don't think it was like the top for me. But I do like her spin on it. I do like that she gave this uh olden Hollywood glamour star, but it didn't stack up to be on the same level as Nina. And I think I maybe went overboard on this explaining it, but I just
Mhm.
wanted to make sure that
Yeah.
we understood that. I was like,
We
Nina's the number one
understand.
for
We
me.
understand, Jack, that you hate dogs. Got it. He
I
hates
don't hate
dogs.
dogs. I
Wow.
love
Understandable.
dogs.
He
I
hates
just don't think
dogs,
this.
and apparently dogs
I
are made up people, and they're not the same as the gold tooth fairy, and everything. Even though I have to disagree with you to some degree, Jack, just because I mean, technically, it is a real dog. Like, yes, did we give it a fake personality? Yes. But I mean, I do think there's something different between picking an inanimate object like a cactus and then picking a dog. Like technically
I mean,
Lassie is a
neither of those
famous
gonna top
female
it.
dog. So technically She is a
I
female
mean,
celebrity. So, I mean, I can't. If
in
you're
a
allowed to do made
way,
up characters, if you're allowed to do fucking Trina's sister, whoever the fuck that is, looking at you,
I'm
Maya,
not saying that was acceptable
like,
either. I'm not saying
I'm
that was
just
acceptable.
saying, if we're
I'm
if
just
we're
saying
going to
that
do
there's
these
like,
things, and you can do Tasha Salad, who doesn't even exist,
but Tasha Salad is a
it's
reference to something that we know.
it's fine.
Like
I have
Trina
no issue with
wasn't
it.
an okay
I
one
think
either.
it's
I'm just
I think
saying
it's
that like
amazing. It's fun. I don't think it's that far any further left or right than any other Snatch Game choices that we've seen use.
I thought it was a great
Um,
performance. I just didn't think it was like anywhere near Nina's, and I also was like, I just have to deduct some points personally because I was like, damn, anyone could have just done anything at this point.
argument. I definitely get that argument, but at the same time, though, too, like the Snatch Game doesn't have the same rules that it had in the past. I think ever since Little Richard popped in, it's been kind of fair game. So, if as long as you're funny, you make me laugh, I'm fine with whatever you want to do on Snatch Game, and I do think that Gottmik went well over the top with the presentation aspect of it. Like, again, I don't know if I've seen anybody at least in recent memory, outside of like maybe Trinity's Devil, but I don't even like that wasn't like fashionable. Like this, she looked good, like as well as she also looked like the character. So, I definitely think we need to give Gottmik her flowers here because this was a very very creative and very very intelligent choice. So, I was a little surprised here when. Well, I wouldn't say I wasn't really surprised here because I was very much so between Gottmik and Nina the whole time. So, when Nina got chosen here by Snatchler David, aka Raven, which by the way initially threw me off at first. I was like, did they bring back what's his face from the Pit Crew way back when? The guy with the mustache. I was like, where did this porn stash come from, Raven? Like, I shaved that lip. I don't know if I liked it. Anyway, David picked Nina as his date here. So it turns out that again, so we have Jorgeous and Nina. Being our top picks here, apparently going into the runway. But before we get into that, I want to get into that strategy discussion that we promised earlier here because um, there is a lot of talk of strategy as far as when they get into the challenge and people see how well some people are doing here, people start to kind of create some different plans of what they could possibly be doing here. Initially, Gottmik kind of thinks that maybe she should give her extra star because, again, the winner of this challenge, the top two, they will get the extra star here. Um, or sorry, extra badge. Why do I keep calling it a star? I'm stuck on All Star 7. If Gottmik basically was deciding initially to give the extra badge to maybe someone who didn't have one. But Roxxxy came up with an idea that perhaps it might be in Gottmik's best interest to instead use the extra badge as a way to put a target on someone else and maybe give someone who has a badge an extra badge and throw them out there to the wolves as well too as someone that could possibly be blocked amongst that. Um, I kind of had one glaring issue with that strategy, and it's the fact, especially because we could kind of talk about it later based off of who she ends up blocking later here. The only other people that have badges here have already kind of been blocked. So if we're gonna be fair and you're gonna like give a badge to somebody else here, especially someone who is like, for example, if she gives it to Angeria, Angeria gets the second badge. Well, if we're deciding who to block between Angeria and Gottmik, well, Gottmik has already, Gottmik hasn't been blocked, Angeria has. I feel like regardless here, regardless what Gottmik does, she's going to be a target next week. Especially if she wins 2 weeks back to back, which spoiler alert she does. Gottmik, you're going to be a target regardless. Did anybody else have any thoughts on Gottmik's strategy? Jack, how about you?
I thought it was funny that Roxy Andrews somehow is like the supposed strategist of the season because that wasn't on anyone's like watch list. The only thing more absurd I thought was probably going to be like if we thought Jorgeous was going to be like someone who is the strategist of the season. But Roxy really like shocked me when she came up and she was like, "Well, hold up, girls. See, you could be equal, but you could choose something else." And I thought it was an interesting play because I think Roxy is really determined to like not make this whole like frou everyone loves each other kind of season like All-Star 7, because I mean, though we know that not all the critiques were like that on All-Star 7, from some of the recounts of the girls who were there, it was such a boring season to watch in that kind of respect, in that regard. And I think Roxxxy was really trying to make sure that that does not happen this season. I think she's really trying to like, make everyone aware that this is a game within a game, essentially. Like, and maybe it's worth investing in that strategy so that way you can make more money for your charity. Because at the end of the day, that's what they're here for. They are here to like show themselves, but also make money for their charity. And I thought it was really smart that she like brought up these other options that the girls have, because you can plant that seed in someone's mind and it can take a sprout and you never know where it's going to go, because the talk about it happens and it goes from the workroom back to Untucked. We see later on they talk about it again, and I'm sure they're going to be talking about it as soon as the start of the next episode, because as we found out, that's when they're going to have to give out the badges. So they have more time to really think about it overnight. Like, who should I give this badge to? Why would I give a badge to you versus you? Like, and I think it actually does make sense that if Gottmik wants to possibly give a badge to someone, to give them a second one to make them a target, it kind of makes sense. But at the same time, like, if we're going on the idea that not everyone's just gonna, Angeria's had the block and Roxxxy had the block, so now we're gonna give a different block, and then we're gonna give a different block. Like, if we give a block to Vanjie or Shannel or even Roxxxy again, like these girls that don't have badges right now, like what's the point? Like just to say, oh, I was blocked too. Like no. Like I wouldn't care about like if I had to block a person that was already blocked before. I mean, plus you got to think in like there is some judging favoritism that happens on these shows. Everyone knows that. So I mean, there's good reasons for the things going on here.
My first initial thought, and generally what I kind of feel like what Gottmik's best move would be, regardless, would just be to give someone who doesn't have a badge already a badge. I mean, she has the perfect friend in Vanjie, who's clearly gonna bottom goddess her way through this competition until it comes to a dance competition or anything like that. So, like, there you go. There's your perfect excuse. Just give it to Vanjie and be done with it. I think the other kind of point of strategy that we get this episode is with Shannel bringing up to Nina that, because as we learned last episode, they kind of split into pairs. I feel like Nina and Shannel might be maybe the most tenuous between the four kind of pairs here, because the other three pairs feel like they kind of really kind of bonded together, just kind of based off of real friendship. And not to say that Nina and Chanel aren't obviously friends or connecting here, but I feel like the other three relationships feel a lot more natural to me than theirs does. Theirs feel like a little bit more by necessity, because you're not going to just be by yourself there. If the other girls are pairing up, there's only one girl left, that's going to be your buddy. But we find out here that Chanel suggests to Nina that if they both end up in the top two, that they should give each other the badge, which I thought was brilliant and something that I was very surprised did. I was actually wondering during a watch, I was like, can they do that? Because they didn't even bring that up in All Star 7. Whiskers, what were your thoughts on Chanel's kind of strategy here when it came to the double badge sharing?
Yeah, I love that some strategy is kind of being injected into the season, and that was one of my main worries going in, that it was just going to be kind of a flat, boring, like yay, everybody wins kind of season. And like with the plunger on All Star 7, they kind of just passed it around and like, oh, you need to get your turn, you need to get your turn. So maybe if we're lucky this season, it'll be a little bit more strategy driven. But I think Chanel is smart here for kind of being like, hey, let's plan on giving each other the badge if we both win. I think it's also some insurance here because she's probably pretty confident. Or I don't know, she didn't see Nina's performance. Maybe I don't know if they let the other girls watch the others' performances or not. But she's probably pretty confident here that Nina will be in the top. So maybe it's just her kind of wanting to solidify that, like, hey, give me a badge, please. Like, I'll give you one if I win. Wink, wink. So I don't know if it's more of that or more of just like more genuine and less strategy. But I think it's smart of her to do that, but it kind of does, like you mentioned, open another door, like of the rule book here. Like, is there a rule book? Like, can they give the badge to anybody? Like, we didn't really have a set point where they're like, you can't block this person if they're in this position, or you can't give a badge to this person, or you can give a badge. So it's kind of, as we're getting into this, and maybe if they do more All-Star seasons in the future with this format, we're gonna kind of learn all of the rules for what you can do with these badges or these blocks. So kind of interested to see next episode where these badges went.
And we will kind of find out here because we will now be set to get into the runway where the judges will at least determine which two queens will be our double badge holders who will lip sync for the $10,000 for their charity for this episode. And this week we are joined by guest judge Anita, who I've been a huge fan of ever since I heard her lip sync last season with Marsha, with Boys Don't Cry. I love that song. And been a big fan of her new album that just came out here too. So I was very happy to see Anita here tonight. And then we also have this week's category, which made me cackle too hard when I heard it. Was a tail and two titties. I think we've all probably made this reference every single time we've heard this. Was it book title? Um, but
The Tale
Yeah.
of Two Cities, yeah.
yeah, love to see it. Love to see it on the Drag Race stage officially here, because basically there's a lot of different ways you can interpret it here, and I feel like that really led us to a very interesting runway category tonight, where I kind of feel like everybody did well in their own ways. Even though I personally had like maybe a few people I didn't enjoy as much. I haven't officially ranked them yet. I kind of have them in tiers at the moment. But we'll kind of just run through them one by one here. Starting out here with Angeria's Lady Dragon look here, which I had to laugh when Untucked when they called her an armadillo because I was laughing at that tail there because I'm like everything in this look is amazing but the end of that tail, like why does it gotta stop like that? It looks so weird. Like other than the end of the tail, I love this look, and it definitely ranks in the top end for me. Definitely, probably in the top three. I don't know if it breaks top two for me. I think there were two other looks that I think I liked a little bit better. But just the detailing on it, just the color pattern, just I love just every part of the look, and it just comes off very very clean looking. So I had no issues really with this look here. I was it came out at the first look here, and I was just like, "Oop, she's setting the bar pretty high here." So I was very impressed here. Whiskers, what were your thoughts here on Angeria's look?
Yeah, I like the look a lot as well. The colors really pop. I love the vibrant oranges and yellows. I think those always look super cool. The tail I didn't really notice the first run through, but it does kind of look like a crispy worm that came out during a rainstorm, and then the sun's been baking on it. And it just does not look good. But I didn't notice it at first, and she was, like you said, the first on the runway, and I initially thought, wow, she's going to be high on my list. But then as more and more came out, a lot of the looks were pretty strong, so it kind of fell down a little bit further on my list. More to just middle of the road, but a solid look. I wish, yeah, looking at it now, that the tail is maybe more of like that sharp edge and like the really geometric shapes, and kind of like on the front of her corset area, like that could have been cool as the tail. But I don't know, I love the color of it, and the structure for most of it is pretty cool, and I think it's a good look.
Jack, how about you?
So I love this look from Angeria. It was in my top three. It was my third place look overall, and I don't think that's changing at all. I think this is the best she's ever looked, honestly, on the runway. I truly believe this is her best look I've ever seen her in. I love that she made it about her tail and her tits. I think that was like, the whole thing was like, I think some of the girls kind of stumbled when it came to the category for me personally. But I saw Injury completely embrace this category. I agree with you. The tail, it's like halfway down. The artistry on it seems to get a bit sloppier, and I think maybe the way it's stuffed didn't present as well as it could have. And the end of it, especially, like maybe something fell off, maybe she couldn't get it all in the bag or something. I don't know, but it should have came to a point. It should have been crisp. It would have been easy. That was one of the big, like, how to enhance this look. Definitely, like, one of those ways. But I mean, I love all of the different, like, fin, like, I don't want to say fins, but like wing, like, I guess, areas and different, like, parts of her suit, not suit, but her outfit. It was just great. Like, I love the cuffs. I love the shoulders. I love that we have those two, like, wings in, like, her on her breastplate right there, which, like, shows she put so much time into, like, thinking of this shape that shows off her body and really, like, sculpted her into this idea of, like, a tail and two titties. This was what that category was. Could the tail be better? Yes. I think the hair is almost perfect. Maybe you could have, like, done a different color with the red in there, like maybe add some of that yellowy orange in there, and maybe just, like, take it over the top. But this was such an amazing look by Angeria, and I had to give her props for this.
I definitely agree. I feel like anybody who maybe embodied this the most, I feel like she did. Like when she came out first, I was like, this is perfect. This feels like the category here. So amazing look by Angeria here. Next look we have Miss Roxxxy Andrews doing a look that was inspired by Jessica Rabbit, but also meets Roger Rabbit. Jack, as our resident Roxy fan, go ahead and start us off here on your thoughts on this look.
Oh my god. So let me tell you, I love Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I think it is one of my favorite, like, I guess you would say, like, older movies now, just because basically, like, when it came out and stuff. But, like, first of all, Jessica Rabbit is an icon. We have been waiting to see someone, like, really do Jessica Rabbit correctly. And I think she did such a great job with the makeup on here and the huge breastplate, because we know that Jessica Rabbit, one of the biggest things is that she comes out in this sultry, like, red silhouette, huge, like, breasts. It goes in this slim waist into this voluptuous ass, and the whole time she is like like the sex symbol essentially of the show. And it's so funny because I believe, she's married to Roger Rabbit, who is, like, the you would think, like, the least compatible, maybe not compatible, but the least likely person for her to be with, because he's, like, small and skinny and kind of nerdy and funny, but that's what she loves. She loves that he's so funny. And to mix these two together, it was so, like, seamlessly done, because here she has the tail on it. She has the carrot that's, like, the phallic shaped symbol that obviously just adds to the sex appeal. She has that waft of orange hair that's, like, so iconic into the white hair that represents, like, his fur as Who Framed Roger Rabbit. And she just did such a good job of, like, incorporating, the category of a tail and two titties. I actually thought, like, before I'd seen this, I was like, I think Angeria might have my number one. And then I saw Roxy and I was like, oh my god, like, this is so good for me. I loved how it was about these things. You can take a simple concept like this and really, like, she remixed it, and it was so good. I mean, tens across the board. Like, I can't say much more than that.
I was very impressed by this look too. I've been really impressed with a lot of Roxy's looks this season. I really like this one too. I don't know if it was necessarily on the same level of detail or maybe just iconicness to some degree as some of the others, just because we have seen Jessica Rabbit done in a lot of different ways here. But I think the fact with her morphing it with the Roger Rabbit and the fact that we also get the rabbit inspired elements of this too. I do think it does make this look stand out a lot. And I gotta say, I love the wig, and I think you're right with that orange swath of hair. Looks so good. It looks so good. And also the titties are amazing. Everything.
Ugh, so
Um,
good.
oh, Whiskers, what were your thoughts on this look here?
Yeah, I of course like this look a lot as well. I love a reference when it's done well, because it's not always done well, but it's definitely done very well here. Yeah, just fits the brief. Combines two characters, which it's like a reference, but it's also combining two characters, which it works so well. And like I'm not super familiar with the whole Jessica and Roger Rabbit relationship, but I obviously know especially Jessica Rabbit and kind of like what she's about and what she portrayed and that kind of thing. So I thought it was a good look. It's something that a lot of people are going to recognize. And of course, because it's Roxxxy, it's executed very professionally and all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed, and I think it looks great.
I definitely agree. I would say, as far as it goes here, I don't know if again it was my favorite of the night, but it's definitely in like my upper tier, like of looks I need to maybe like really think over before I officially make a decision as far as to where I rate it here. And I think that the next look here is another one of those here, and that's Miss Chanel's scorpion look. Um, which is, I want to go ahead and you start us off here with your thoughts on Miss Chanel's look.
Yeah, absolutely. As the Scorpio, so I like this look a lot. Actually, it's definitely towards the upper end. It's not my favorite of the night, but definitely in the top half for me. Just kind of the shininess of the tail and just the colors that she used with the golds and the silvers, and kind of contrasting with the black hair. It's just very striking. I like it. There's parts of it I feel like I need to look at it longer to really understand it and get where everything is going. But it's just I don't know. It's shiny and has the iridescence, and you kind of see like the rainbow colors from the lights reflecting on it. It's a cool look. It's kind of like I can't really tell if it's futuristic more or kind of like historic. I don't know. It just combines a different all sorts of different shapes and styles, and I like it. I don't know if I know the reasons why I like it, but seeing it go down the runway and like looking at the stills now, and it's just a look that resonated with me.
I was initially caught like I really enjoyed this look when she brought it out here, and I agree. It is a very like modern meets like uh, sorry, what's the other word? Um, well, past meets present,
Historic, I don't know if
basically.
that was the right
Yeah,
word, but
past
yeah,
meets
a
present. It's
mix of
very
both.
like steampunk,
Yes,
very
Back to the
steampunk.
Future.
Yeah, like it's mechanical looking, but also like kind of futuristic too. Jack, what were your thoughts on this look?
So this was like the Mad Max Scorpion, right? That she explained it as. And at first I liked it, but then when it came further down the runway and I saw more, I was like, unfortunately, I could not put this in like my top looks of the week because there were a couple detail issues that I just had some problems with. I like the look conceptually overall. I think there just needs a few couple changes here and there. I think one of the things that really stood out to me was her holding the tail the whole time was kind of questionable. I was like, especially because we know that we have another scorpion coming who didn't have to do that. Now, I'm not
He was a
saying that
little more
it
erect than the limp. He didn't like the limpness.
you know what the thing was? I think that like Chanel had talked last week, especially about like using wire and things inside of her costumes to make them work better. And at first, I was like, well, maybe she's holding the tail, and this is like symbolic for a reason. Like maybe the arm is supposed to represent something else. And I was thinking, okay, so maybe this is it. But I never really got that. I just think the arm is matching the fabric on the opposite leg, and I think she just had to held it because something either it wasn't holding up properly or wasn't supposed to, or maybe it got damaged when she brought it here. You know, a number of things could have happened. So I can't like say, oh, it's the worst look ever because originally I had ranked it like one of the lowest down. Maybe it'll jump up a few spots, but a couple other things I didn't like about it was, you know, the fabric choices on the gold. I wasn't really a huge fan of. I didn't think it fit her body properly, and the black band around her waist, I wasn't a huge fan of. I see like kind of what it was supposed to be doing there, but when I can see that so vibrantly and all the strings and stuff for the corseting, it's if you're gonna have your corset exposed, I feel like there's usually a reason for it, and here I just couldn't find a good reason for it. So that's kind of what my biggest issue was, and it kind of felt like the corset was on there because her hair was also black. But I felt a disconnect in some of the elements here, but I liked a lot of other parts of it. It's not saying that like it's like a golden boot look or something, you know. It's just not my fave, and I think we've seen Chanel do much stronger looks than this. So unfortunately, like it didn't rank as high for me.
I get that. I mean, I honestly I have it pretty middle of the pack too. It's honestly like the bottom or the I'd say the highest of my low tier or the lowest of my top tier. Wherever you want to put that there, that's kind of where I have Chanel for the week. It's not a bad look, but I definitely think there's some really strong competition on this runway this season. So I feel like this is where things are going to really get really competitive for the queens. I feel like they all have a lot of different strengths. As far as some people are really good at acting, some people are really good at comedy, some people are really good at dancing. But they're all kind of bringing it on the runway this season. I feel like for whatever reason. So
For
maybe
the
it's that
most part.
stipend money. Who knows? Yeah, for the most part. I mean, obviously, a couple
Um,
people probably kept this money and maybe bought some drugs with it or something. I don't know. Maybe use it for their rent. But if the stipend rumors are true, at least a lot of them are using their money towards good use. So I can't hate on this look for Chanel, but I also do think a lot of people did a lot better than she did as well too. So um, let's go ahead and get to our next look here, and that is going to be George's Beverly Hills Chihuahua look. And Jack, I want you to go ahead and start us off here.
okay. I hated this look. I Okay, so there was a lot of good elements to this look. I liked her little like pooch collar with a little J on it. I like that she had a little cape thing on the back of hers that said Jorgeous on it. I thought that was cute. I wasn't necessarily feeling the the proportions on her body in this look, especially I think, her bottom half looked really thick and it kind of almost made her look a little bit smaller than what she is. And her top half felt really small in comparison. So I felt a huge disconnect there. Another issue I had with this, the idea is like a tail and two titties. First of all, the tail was covered. The two titties were not featured at all. And I'm not saying that like it has to be overly crazy, but I think like one thing that I thought of that I thought would have been really smart of her and making this a little bit more camp, which I think is one of the things I really loved about like Roxxxy's look a lot was like the camp effect we got added in here. I think what would have been smart is if she had had like the dog nipples down her like front side as like the reveal kind of thing to prove either that A, she was pregnant, or maybe just like that she was like showing, like you could actually see it because part of the challenge is a tail and two titties. But the titties made basically no effort other than having the I guess the leash and the harness on her right there. But they might as well have been flat chested because they were not featured in the slightest. And so that was kind of a fail for me. I liked her clutch though. I will say that. Her clutch was doing it for me.
I
And
like
I
her.
loved the color pink. Like it was good for that.
Yeah,
But it wasn't a terrible one.
I didn't really like this look as much. I feel bad because I feel like all I do is hate on Georges. But Georges to me is just not really a look queen, and yeah, like I think you're right. It's very disproportionate. Like the top half and the bottom half are very like the top half is very tiny. The bottom half is very chunky. Like I get why she put on the fur. I don't think she needed it though at all. Like I feel like she really could have done without that part of it. Especially because it looks like maybe it's the heels or whatever. It looks like she has hooves. And I'm like, you're a dog. You're not supposed to have like hooves. Like it's giving me very much so like yeah, like goat kind of bottom, and like the top half is cute. I do like the collar with the name on it, and I do like the bag, and I do like elements to it, but just not all together. And I just don't. It's just definitely not one of my favorite looks. I kind of struggled though because I don't know if it was no, this could possibly be up for my least favorite look of the night. Whiskers, how about you?
Yeah, it was very meh for me. She looks cute. I did understand the reference. I remember the Beverly Hills Chihuahua movies. Those are kind of silly and fun. But I mean, it's not super referential to the movie. It's just kind of like, I guess, what she would be as her Chihuahua character in that movie. But I mean, yeah, it's a fine look. I like the clutch as well, but yeah, the way the fur is kind of gripped around like her legs and feet is not really the most flattering for me. But I mean, it's not a bad look, and it's not my least favorite of the night, but it's definitely not in the top half either.
Mhm. Yeah, I think these middle portions, honestly, for me, could be where like the middle of this runway where things kind of start to fall apart here. Maybe starting with Jorgeous, but we do get into our next look here with Miss Vanjie, who's also doing a as Jack would say, a slightly more erect version of the scorpion look here. Whiskers, go ahead and get me your thoughts on Miss Vanjie's scorpion look.
Yeah, maybe the tail is more erect, but I don't think that makes it a better look for me. I do not like this look. I mean, it's not the worst thing I've ever seen, but like I just don't really get it. It's not giving scorpion to me. I mean, yeah, she has a scorpion tail, and that looks like a scorpion, but the rest of the look is it's like she's wearing like latex pants and has a pink leather jacket on, and I don't know, maybe the wig is giving like the pincers or whatever. I don't know the anatomy of a scorpion, but it's just it's not, it doesn't give me very scorpion. And I know it's bright pink and maybe it's not supposed to, but um, I don't know. It's just it does not resonate with me as much as Chanel's Scorpion look did. It's just it looks like Barbie does Scorpion. I don't know. It's like a
Yeah,
scorpion
it's
in Barbie's California house or something. I don't know.
It's yeah, it literally kind of feels like you could just detach the tail and it becomes, like now she could just, walk down the runway. Like, like I don't know, like it's like or now she could go
Yeah,
shopping for groceries without the tail getting in the way. Like it's just it doesn't feel the tail feels like an afterthought. It feels like she made the outfit and she's like, "Oh, I forgot I need to do something with a tail. Oh, okay, here we go." Like at least she could have like featured the titties or something. But I don't. I love Vanjie. I really do. Like people in podcasting be like, "You hate Vanjie." I'm like, no, I love Vanjie. Like Vanjie going into this was probably my winner pick until I realized she just does not translate into Drag Race, and this is this is it. And I still love her. I still love you, Vanjie. I do. But girl, girl, were you trying? Were you trying? Jack, go ahead. I know you have some words to say.
Okay, so Vanjie is still in my bottom half of looks, but I actually like her look more than I like Chanel's. And I know that seems kind of criminal at first, but let me
Kind
kind
of
of
criminal.
like hear me out, hear
very.
me out. If you look at the okay, so two things that happen that are really important that don't get really noted. A, her tail doesn't have to be held up, blah blah blah. But the thing about the tail and the arms, where they're supposed to be like the claws, they have the extra protection on them, like on her like forearms kind of area. The tail, the forearms, and the back part all have like this LED lighting on that you can't really see really well on the runway, but when she turns around, you can see how it lights up, and it kind of looks nice, right? So from like the top half up, I understand the scorpion. From the bottom down, it is just like a pair of pants and some shoes. But I thought to myself, because I originally had this lower, but I thought to myself, which one of these looks would I rather wear? And I was like, I'd probably actually rather wear the Vanjie one because it was sculpted to her body. Now, yes, her tits could have been more like shown off here for the two titties thing, and I think that Shannel edges her out on that, but I think Vanjie does a better job with the tail. But then I was like, Shannel did a Mad Max Scorpion where really we saw the Scorpion tail, but I also had the same critique of not really seeing like the Scorpion there as much either. So I was like, both of them are kind of like yes and no here, like on this like idea, right? But the thing I think that edged it over for me for Vanjie here is specifically like the arm placements and the fact that I don't think her outfit needed as much editing as Chanel's did. And I think not that I'm giving Vanjie a pass or anything, but Vanjie's aesthetic we know is not exactly the most magnificent like thing that we've come to experience, but at least it was like body forward, which I felt really more about the category at this point. Like I was more interested in her body than I was Chanel's body. I felt like it was featured a little bit better. Still a close call, and I can totally see like right now I switched it actually earlier. Vanjie's my 5 and Chanel's my 6. It was very difficult for me, but I think she just went because a pink scorpion versus a Mad Max scorpion, both a little different. I think Shannel has slightly better details, but Vanjie's is more together at the end of it all.
Hmm. I mean, I could see your point there. I do agree with you that I think both the Scorpions kind of land mid to low tier as it is though. So I yeah, well, who knows? It might grow on me a little bit here. Like it's not a bad look. She looks clean. So I give her credit for that. But again, it just feels like, and I do get what you're meaning about the little detailing on her jacket though, about like where the protective things should be, but it just still feels like the tail and that part is an afterthought. So um, I don't know.
I can see
I
that.
I go by either way on it. So I don't hate it for what she's brought here. It's definitely better than some of these other looks that she's brought here. But it just feels like there's something missing with these runaways with Vanjie, and I'm waiting for the moment for her to just I need another Rose's moment for a Libra look. I'm waiting for that moment to come. I don't know if it's ever going to come, but Vanjie, they gave you a stipend. Where's that look? Okay, anyway, let's get to our next look here because I know we're gonna have a lot to say about this one here, and this is
Oh goodness.
Miss Nina West's solar system look, where she's using planets as her titties, and the sun apparently is her vajayjay, and the tail that she's inspired by is a tail of a comet, which is on her head, and she also has a black hole, which I'm sure you can figure out where that goes. Um, I didn't like this at all whatsoever. Nina has some great ideas, but the execution every single time is just not something I enjoy looking at. Um, I just I it seems very strange that you're gonna have like, I mean, obviously we already know like the planets are like two different sizes. So like Jupiter and Saturn being the same size now all of a sudden, and now like all the other planets just being like little dots on her dress or whatever. And then like the face mask or whatever. Like there's just a lot of things in this, and not only that, but there's also a lot of decisions here that just don't really I don't like. I gotta be honest, I don't really like this look here. Whiskers, did you have any thought here on Miss Nina's look?
Yeah, some thoughts. Concept is cool. I mean, nobody else really went like the planet route, and like, damn, she's got planets. Um, but the tail of the comet, like, yeah, and the black hole, like, she has the comedy, of course, like the wink wink is part of Nina's thing, but it's just it doesn't look great. I think I hate it more now after looking at it more. Like, at looking at it the first time, I was like, okay, it's not that bad, and the concept was good, so I thought it was good. But like maybe you have to like if you squint your eyes a little bit and like face the other way and don't actually look at it, then it looks good. I don't know. Um, Not my favorite, but I love what Nina's going for here, and it's like I don't know, she's like attempting some fashion, and like I appreciate the effort. Um, but it's not the best. Maybe on a regular season it would get a safe, but here it's just compared to some of the other looks, I don't know. Like thinking about it, I almost want to put it above Vanjie for me, but I don't. I put Nina's as my least favorite. But like, at least she tried. It felt like she tried a little bit more with the concept than Vanjie did. So I'll give her that, but it's not a great look in my humble opinion.
I'm very, very curious. Who is Nina West's designer? Like, who designs her stuff for her? Does she do it herself? Because, like, I'm like, Nina West, you are well known. Like, how, like, what? What?
She's on Broadway.
Yes, I'm like, what? Like, and I don't want to sound like I'm being very harsh or shady or whatever. Because you're right. I feel like in any other season, a normal season, this would be probably a top tier look. Or I won't go that far. It would be
Ooh,
a safe
I
look.
said
It would be a
safe.
safe
I said
look. It
yeah.
would be a safe look.
I'd get
But
her
you know,
by.
like it's All Stars. I think we're just expecting a lot, and there's so many fashion girls this season. So, um, I feel bad comparing Nina constantly fashion wise to her, but I mean it's part of the show, part of what you got into. So whoops. Jack, I know you have some thoughts here.
I do, and I think you're gonna be a little shocked by some of the things I say
Oh
because
no, this is top tier for
I
you.
no, it is not. No, it is not. It is pretty low on my list. It is just above George's, which is George's is my last pick, I believe.
It's like seventh isn't bad. Oh, seventh, eighth,
Out of
I
8,
understand.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about the good things first because it's a little bit of a shorter list, but it's the concept is very cool, right? Like a tail of a comet is really fucking cool as an idea. And it looks really cool coming off of the top of her head instead of the traditional near your ass kind of tail. So I thought that was like really fun. It was out of the ordinary. Um her titties are very well shown off here. So she has the tail and the two titties. She's really hitting the mark on the category at the very least, right? Like, and everything is like rhinestone for the gods on those tits, right? I think she chose Jupiter and Saturn because they are known as two of the biggest in our solar system. I want to say actually the two biggest in our solar system, even though they're like very different sizes. But like, who really cares about the size? We're here for drag, not for like an astronomy lesson. Oh my god, whoops.
I want
Um,
them to be accurate.
okay, well, if you
Just
want them to
kidding.
be accurate, like Saturn is like I think closest to 2 times Jupiter's size, which would probably make some things lopsided here. But
I would be
okay.
here for it. Asymmetrical is fashion, honey. Yes.
Asymmetrical is fashion, unless you're asking one of our other co-hosts who hated Roxy Andrews' look in the ball. Anyway, though, uh, so the the black hole was a great idea. It looked a little droopy on the back, though. That being said, and then let me mention the sun. Good placement, good idea. Comets get that tail. I looked this up, so I just don't know this off the top of my head. Comets get that tail that we see off of them when they're getting closer to the sun and the gas starts to release from them, kind of thing. So that's why I thought was like really smart that the comet looks like it's going towards the sun. Loved that part about the look. So here's the problems. We've discussed the planets are all types of fucked up, just everywhere, which where they want to be. So that's weird. Um, this is essentially a black dress with stuff on it, though it is fitted well to Nina's body, which is one of the first times I can say that about one of her outfits. The face bikini is trash, mama. Just cut that off. Like honestly, cut off that face bikini, and she should have just made her face like the comet. Honestly, like it would have worked better if that's where you're going to have the tail going. And so, if the tail's going that way, it means it's heading towards the sun and going to go past her planet Tatas. Great. The other planets could have been all spread out. Like, why is it just black at the bottom? I don't know. There are 6 like rays coming off the sun, which is weird because one is right between her two titties. And it feels like everything is just so clumped in that upper half. It didn't have to be like that. And in fact, she didn't have to include all of this the planets and stuff, or she could have included them all, just spaced them out on her look, and it would have been fine. These rays are way too long coming off the sun, though. Like, it's like a squid. It's like squid arms because there are six of them, and it's like, well, why didn't you just go the whole eight? Because you like, if you really wanted to give that symmetry, though, I thought the six was fun. It was just it's weird placement, right? And it just it's not working. The makeup, she's not known for her makeup, but if you go in there, the makeup is okay, but it's nothing great. The face kini is just so bad. It doesn't even fit her face. It gives me flashbacks of actually Plastique's face kini that I thought was so bad because I was like, the face kini is almost it was almost the worst face kini, but Silky was there to give us the no makeup face kini. So, I mean, the celestial bodies look good. They just need to be spaced out. The outfit was mostly good on her. Uh, just again, black dress, things placed on it, and it's this thing with Nina. It's like such good concepts, such bad execution. We constantly see this from her, and it's really sad because she really could have had one of the best outfits of the night. And something I just saw when looking back at the look is there's something coming off of her face kini or whatever. It might be her hair coming out of like the top of the part of it. It's just like one little strand of hair or whatever. It makes no sense, and it's just like, hey, look at me, I'm different. So it's a fail of a look, but it wasn't my least favorite. No, but it was my second least favorite. But
I
it was, you
mean,
know what? No, it was good for her.
oh, I don't know if that phrase is even good. Good for her.
No, that phrase is bad, but it.
Yeah, I mean, again, I do agree. I think Nina has some great concepts. I'm just, who was her designer? Nina, fire them immediately, and
Girl,
you
that girl is taking
fire
all that
them, fire
$75,000
them.
and giving her whatever.
Yeah, they did not give you your money's worth here. So I would find a new stylist here, Nina. But let's get to a look that I really want to talk about here. Jack, I'll let you go first on this one here. Let's talk about Plastique's look here, based on the Kasumi Fox. Let me know what your thoughts were here.
Plastique does it once again. This girl is not playing with you hoes. 100%. Here she comes out in one of the best known, like, Asian inspired uh mythological tales kind of thing. I get it, reference tales. Um, the kitsune. It has multiple tails. She has her tits out and her breastplate covered up with pasties that are literally just like perfectly matching her outfit. The little masks she had on. It is just so pretty. Her face and makeup just deludes into the hair that she has. She is a goddess. You know what? She also has the furry boots. Jorgeous, take note if you're gonna do the furry like paws like this is probably the way to do it because the way she has enhanced the rest of her body, it doesn't seem disproportionate and weird. Like the tails are all so good. Like they weren't an afterthought. The breasts weren't an afterthought. Like they are the stars of this look. There are great details all over. Her nails are perfectly done. She is giving us beauty, the house, boots. Like this outfit more than makes up for her Snatch Game performance, in my opinion, just because this is possibly one of the best outfits I've ever seen on the runway.
Yeah, I would
It,
agree. Honestly, this is fantastic. This is fantastic.
um,
Do you have more to say?
no, other than this is amazing. Tens across the board once again. We have some really amazing looks this week.
Honestly, we really did. This one came out. My Plastique has been killing it on the runway this season. Like, I did not like. I knew she was kind of a fashion queen beforehand. Again, looking back at her season 11 resume, I wasn't as inspired as like what I initially thought her her catalog was, but wow, wow, wow. Everything that she has brought this season has just been spot on, and her makeup is always flawless, and just oh my god, like I could honestly look at Plastique all day. Whiskers, what's your thoughts here?
I hate it. No, I'm
Ooh.
I loved it, obviously. This was my favorite look of the week. And unsurprisingly from Plastique again. Just everything about it. I can't say much more. It's fantastic. Like the makeup into like the ears into the wig, like it's so seamless and it's like it's airbrushed and it's beautiful and just the whole garment, the tails kind of bouncing around and flowing around in the back, and just the gradient on it, the colors. It's very elegant and regal, and it's showing some culture as well. It's a great look. I can't put into words as much as what it is.
The more I look at it, the more I love it, and I'm just like, there's so many small details, the coloring, the everything, the color palette about it too is beautiful. And also I love the details on the titties. The flower pasties. Like I would totally wear some
Oh,
flower pasties. Totally would. If I had any titties. But maybe we'll start going to the gym and act but no, we're not gonna start going to the gym. We're not that's not anyway, let's go ahead and talk about our final look for the night because I honestly, personally, for me, again, Plastique has been bringing on the runway, but so has Gottmik, and I'm having a real hard time real deciding between what my favorite look of the night is here because personally, I was a huge fan of Gottmik's top surgery look here. I think it's a very powerful piece, and really something only that Gottmik I feel like can do. While I think the tail part of it, with it being her ponytail, that's a little bit of a cop out. Um, but as far as is using this for this sort of category to kind of make this kind of sort of situation aware of people, and just the fact that the Swarovski blood on as the scars. That's I'm just like and the hands. The fact that she molded her own hands. I'm like, this is insane. Like it's so simplistic, and usually I don't generally go for simplistic looks, but I love this look from Gothic. Whiskers, what were your thoughts here on our final look of the night here?
Yeah, I mean, I might talk myself into putting this as my favorite look because this is such a cool look. It's like it's so powerful and it looks good. I actually love the fact that the tail is the ponytail because I mean nobody else took that route. Like everybody went kind of maybe more animalistic or that kind of thing. Gottmik went with an actual real experience and it's very empowering. I'm sure to see and like I mean, Gottmik's literally holding the two titties here in a bag, representing her top surgery, which is just awesome. It's just such a cool look, and it looks obviously Gottmik always brings the fashion, so of course it looks fashion, but just the statement it's making. Usually the like when a statement like this is made on Drag Race, it usually goes well and it's usually good. But sometimes it doesn't translate, but here totally translates. And I love everything that Gottmik did with this look here.
And Jack, I know you haven't necessarily been the biggest Gottmik fan here out of everybody here. I know you've given her some respect for her looks, though. What were your thoughts, though, on Gottmik's look tonight?
oh, let me tell you, Gottmik might not be my fave, and but respect to Gottmik, not just for her looks, but also her performances. She goes out there and she gives it her all. At the very least, like we can see the commitment that she always does, right? So, like, although I'm not her number one fan, and I will never claim to be, um, she had an amazing look tonight. It was so smart. It was just the first word I could think of was how smart this was and how important it was to like show off something that like not a lot of people know about, and as her being I believe the only trans male drag queen we've had on Drag Race, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe is
At
the only
least in the
one
U.S., I think, yeah, at least in the
in the
U.S.
US. Okay, okay. I haven't seen all the other seasons. But this it's like a political statement. talking about like changing your body. The way she incorporated the two titties in here is so smart, and you can see on the bag it's that like that hazardous waste symbol, you know, if you, at the doctor's office or something, or if they where they put the needles or the shots, and if they have anything with blood on it and whatnot, you know. I just think those little details are so important when you do such a simplistic look like this. It's things like this, like it's her bag, her tits are in the bag, so she has them. She shows the stitching. It's the crystals of the lines of like the scars from the surgery. The arms are great. The only thing I think I would have preferred a little different is the tail aspect again. I like that she did a ponytail. I like that she did it differently. I just maybe wish the ponytail was more detailed. If you're gonna go the ponytail route, for me, um, it's a great concept because again, not anyone did it. But you could do a and I'm not trying to be hypocritical because I love me a long ass fucking ponytail that's just fucking slicked back and perfect like that. I It's one of my favorite things to do. But since we're doing drag race, um, the idea of doing like a more uh, I guess inspired or more like uh, uh, ponytail that just would have gone more with the look than just being the signature black hair that Gottmik tends to do, I think would have been the thing that like took this look to like the best it ever possibly could be. Again, this is a very big nitpicky thing because what Gottmik did here was great. I love that they commented on the color of the mini dress kind of thing being the scrubs color that you see on surgeons and things, like the hands right there with the scalpels. Like almost everything is 100% perfect. The only things I can really critique is that the ponytail doesn't hit as hard for me in the tail section, but Gottmik killed this category. I don't think there's going to be a time where I look at Gottmik and be like, oh, bottom tier, like this look is bad. Like that doesn't really seem to be in the realm of Gottmik because Gottmik is smart. They think things through, and I love when girls think things through. And gotta give kudos to Gottmik. It wasn't my favorite look of the night, just because again, it there were just some that just really spoke to me, like Plastique's Kitsune, for example, was just so good. But this is a strong piece. I loved it. I'm still trying to decide exactly where I'm placing it, but it was great. Only thing I could say still is I just wish the ponytail had been something else that brought the look even more together. But the cohesion is still there.
I mean, I could see what you're saying just based on the fact that the look is so simplistic that it would be nice if she did something up in the ponytail to kind of, make it more elaborate there. But I think the fact that, just the color palette, if we're just looking at just colors here, I mean, the ponytail is black versus the rest of, what it seems like a very, very bright, I mean, obviously the skin tone and then the bright blue. So, I mean, I think it stands out. So I don't know if there's necessarily anything I feel like she could have put in it that would have, and us maybe making it longer, giving a Lux like 45,000 inches to the floor. Maybe one of those type of leaps would have worked for the ponytail, but I can't hate on this look here. I've been just in love with Gottmik's look this season. Like she's bringing it so hard on the runway that I can't help but just and you were right there too, Jackie. One thing I think that we've learned about Gottmik, especially over these last 3 episodes, is she is so smart and takes so much time to think things through. And I think that really leads into like why like last episode that she ended up basically forming I wouldn't say she formed the look entirely around it, but she did feature the Beetlejuice wig that ended up coming into play when she was on the runway. So there are very small things that Gottmik is paying attention to, and that level of detail is there for Gottmik, and I'm just I am I don't know if I could say 100% that I'm rooting for her as my favorite just yet, but she's bringing it like a lot. So, definitely not surprised here at all when we learn that our top two of the week is Nina West and Gottmik. think very well deserved here. Definitely the top two I was agreeing with. So it sounds like here we're all kind of mostly in agreement of that, right? For the most part, that Gottmik and Nina are justified top two.
Oh
Yep.
yeah, after the runway added into the performance, uh I mean I would have been fine with Gottmik being in the top two before that anyways, but like it was very clear cut it was gonna be between like three people, maybe four kind of thing. Like we all knew who the tops and the bottoms were from the challenge, and I think the correct two were picked for this.
100%. I don't think anybody can be too mad that Gottmik and Nina are the top two here.
Well, what we can be a little bit mad at, I think, is that they wasted an amazing lip sync song on what could be possibly one of the most distracting lip syncs that I've ever seen in my entire life. And Nina has made a big deal about this whole I'm gonna keep wearing this over and over again until I win that stupid reveal dress that she's on. And she literally, in the very first reveal, oh, wait, by the way, let me run back here. That lip sync song that they ruined here was "Banana" by Anita featuring Becky G, which is a great song. Love again, I love Anita. If you haven't listened to her stuff, go listen to it. It's so good. But oh my god, like the very first move that Nina does to do her stupid reveal thing literally shows like two or three layers of what she's planning on doing here, and it's just like okay, so obviously Nina's gonna be doing just constant reveals the whole entire time, which I think it's funny. It works. But she was literally struggling every single reveal to take it off. And it's just like, it just got so distracting to the point where I'm just like, I wanted to watch Gottmik, but I felt like the edit of the lip sync was just constantly on Nina because Nina was just constantly struggling and doing something to just take the focus off of anything that was happening here. And I don't feel like she was paying attention to actually lip syncing the song. And I don't think, I mean, after like the third or fourth one, I was over it. Like the comedy was gone. And they were all like the same kind of dress. Like at least reveal into like something else, like don't just. And then on top of that too, we couldn't even read anything that was on any of these dresses. Like I'm not stopping the lip sync to read what's on your dress here. I can't read what you're wearing when you're gonna rip it off 2 seconds later. Like, I, ah, ah, I'm so mad because I feel like there was points here where Gottmik actually could have been giving a really good lip sync, but we'll never know. We'll never know. We'll never know. Whiskers, what were your thoughts here on this lip sync?
Oh, it was so bad. It was horrible. It was not a fun watching experience. Like you said, I feel like they had to focus so much time on just whatever bullshit Nina was doing because you had to understand how bad it was. So we didn't even really get to enjoy if if Gottmik's lip sync was enjoyable. I feel like we saw Gottmik like maybe 3 times for a couple seconds, and the rest was just Nina like fumbling to open up her different pieces of sequin fabric that she had underneath each other. It was not a good lip sync, and I feel like at some points Nina wasn't even like actually lip syncing exactly to the words, just because she was so focused on taking off the next layer. It was a mess. It was such a mess. I thought it would be almost more of a gag if she had this like that whatever the red and blue sequin thing, like my reveal or my lip sync dress, and if she like faked revealed and just never actually took it off, and just like at certain moments in the song, if it was just like whoa, whoa, like kind of like how we've seen in the past, like the Monet lip sync and the Pound the Alarm lip sync with what was the other queen, Dusty, where like we got the first original like the fake out for the death drop or the split, and she didn't actually do it. Like that was such a moment. Like what if Nina did something like that with the reveal? Because it's kind of been made into a thing where she's wearing the dress every time, like her big reveal dress, even if she should have or not, when she clearly wasn't in the top, she was still wearing it. So it would have been so much more fun if she made it a moment like that. But that's just me theorizing what could have been. But instead, we got what we got, and it was something.
No, I live for your alternate reality versions, and that would have been hilarious. Jack, do you have any thoughts here on this lip sync?
Oh, so many, and I did the research for us, so we have and we know what each reveal is. I just want to give a moment, and Whiskers,
Oh,
I'm
thank
so glad
you.
you talked about the lip syncing was off from Nina West. I didn't think she was always getting the words, and you know, wow. I'm so sorry to Gottmik. Look, Gottmik did not give like the greatest performance ever. She's not like the greatest performance queen, but there was no competition in this lip sync. It was trash because of one person, and it was not Gottmik's fault. So let's get into it. Nina West's first look is the Nina's lip sync outfit on. We see that she struggles to reveal that off, and the next one is a picture of RuPaul framed around words that say, "Look, a reveal." And then she struggles to take that one off, and it turns into another picture of RuPaul, this time in her opera glasses, and the words, "Can't wait to see how this turns out." But luckily, we're not done there. She then struggles again to take another reveal just to hide behind Gottmik. I never thought I'd have to say that Nina was hidden by Gottmik.
Right?
What?
How
How did
did
that
that even
happen?
happen?
It's
Into
all
a
perspective.
into the same exact shape purple dress that said Shablam on it. But wait, she's not done. She's gonna fumble another reveal into a blue dress that also says Shablam. How original. Oh, wait, hold up. There's another one left. She reveals the final dress to a bodysuit that has the pictures of Carson and Ross on her two individual tits that says everybody above Carson, say above Ross, a heart on where her vagina is supposed to be, and then on her asshole is the word love above a picture of Michelle Visage all on there. And if you thought that the reveals were bad at that point and she couldn't flub anymore, you would be wrong. Yes, you would be wrong because you might not even have seen this flub because God knows I had to rewind multiple times to see what it was in her hands. As you know, she ends the lip sync by putting a banana in her mouth. Well, she doesn't even fully unpeel the banana because she can't do it within the time limit of the song. So she bites off part of a banana peel into her mouth with the banana, and I was like, that's bad. But what you might not have seen that I didn't see the first time was that she also had RuPaul's chocolate bar in her hand while doing this reveal. So in total, that is about 7 different flops per each reveal because she couldn't do it properly. And the pandering this episode to RuPaul, like, why don't you just let RuPaul sit on your face and be his personal toilet? Because the way you are kissing his ass so hard right now is disgusting. It is so annoying. It's one of my least favorite things when queens pander like this just to try to get an edge up in the competition because I want to see your talent. Yes, you can make a funny joke about RuPaul. You can do this or that that references something RuPaul has done. But there are some things that just cross lines that just it might be the biggest thing in Drag Race history that irks me so much is when queens just pander to RuPaul just because. And this lip sync is just an example of like 3 terrible things happening at once. We have somehow an even worse Nina lip sync than we had in the past, which she only had one, by the way, which almost most people agree that she actually beat Silky, if you can say that there was a victor during that lip sync. But now we've also lost respect for Nina as a competitor completely because she had this whole elaborate reveal dress not made well, which I guess we shouldn't be surprised by since all of her wardrobe on the runway isn't very well made. So, but this one literally looks like a arts and craft project by a 5-year-old who just found out what glue was and learned how to make bubble letters in Microsoft Word. Unfortunately, the third thing is we see how another goddamn lip sync is just bad on a great season of All Stars. You know, we could have had a great lip sync. Maybe not by Nina, but like we could have at least had a lip sync that was memorable or worth clicking on. The only reason this lip sync is going to get views on YouTube or from the Wow Presents channel is because people are going to be smothering that comment section with hate towards Nina. I'm not trying to say that you should give Nina hate. I don't encourage hate to any of the queens. But will she be getting hate in those comments? Unfortunately, yes. And that is the reason why it's going to get so many views. And I wish we could actually edit this lip sync out of the episode or re-edit it so it just had a flyer up there that said Gottmik won the lip sync, no worries. And I need to live for the moments where she was actually hitting the words of her song. I can't say enough bad things about this lip sync for Nina. Gottmik, congratulations on your second badge. Nina, I kind of wish at that point you didn't get a badge and an extra badge to give out. I mean no hate to you, but it was cringeworthy at best to watch.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'm expecting Nina to do well in lip syncs here. A Nina versus Jimbo lip sync could possibly be like one of the worst things I could ever imagine in my entire life. But you know what? You're right here. Let's talk about the positives here. Gottmik won. So congratulations, Gottmik. Let's go ahead and bring up our beautiful Benefactress badge tracker as well too as we discuss our final section of the episode here, because as where we stand now, Gottmik officially is in the lead with 2 badges, while Angeria, Jorgeous, Plastique, and Nina now officially have 1. But other than Nina, everybody else is up for possible scissoring. So we find out here that Gottmik has decided to give the snip to Jorgeous, which I was a little surprised. I mean, like, I guess at that point, her only other option was, I guess, Plastique as the only other person with a badge that she could have cut off. So I guess between the two and not giving Angeria the snip again for a week, I mean, I suppose I get it. But I also get this strange feeling that Gottmik is going to follow this up by giving Georges a badge, which I don't think is smart, but I don't know. Meanwhile, here Nina also gets another badge here too, so she gets to give her badge out to somebody as well too. So I want to go ahead and we'll get to our one of our second to last questions of the night here. Is what do we think they're going to be doing with these badges here? Do we think Shannel is going or Nina is going to live up to her deal with Shannel to give her badge? And do we think Gottmik is going to give a badge to someone who already has a badge to make them a target? Or do we think she's going to give the badge to maybe someone who doesn't have one to spread out the wealth? Jack, go ahead and start us off.
I think Nina will probably give the badge to Shannel. Although, if she didn't give the badge to Shannel, she could honestly give it to Gottmik for the dirty deed she did this week. And I just want to note on Gottmik, I think it would be smart of Gottmik to give it to Vanjie instead. I mean, it's her friend; it makes sense. If she gives it to Jorgeous as like a peace treaty, that kind of makes sense, I guess. But I actually was very confused about her snip at first too, until I thought about how she first snipped one of the 14 girls. You know, the girls of the 14 Alliance, Jorgeous and Angeria. She hit Angeria first. Now she's hitting the same alliance of Jorgeous. Both of them have badges already. It kind of makes sense. It's a really neutral hit, and it actually probably makes the most sense out of anyone to give. Like, she has a good reason for it. So I kind of see the like thought behind Gottmik, and I want to give her that credit because I do think she is smart enough to have possibly thought all that through. But I hope that she gives the badge to Vanjie, and I kind of just hope that Nina gives it to Shannel, because if not, I feel like Shannel will feel away, and I would too if I was Shannel.
Yeah, I think that's more than likely probably the result I expect to see next week here. Whiskers, do you have any thoughts on the matter here?
Yeah, I think it's kind of going to come down to the pairs. I think for Gottmik, actually, I feel like it's pretty clear cut. I feel like she'll give it to Vanjie. Um, I don't know. I can't really see it going any other way. And for the Nina and Shannel thing, I think Nina will probably give it to Shannel. But I feel like we kind of got some hints in this episode that maybe she won't. We got a confessional from Nina, like saying, "Yeah, Shannel, I think expects that we would both give it to each other, but she said that she doesn't want to work with Shannel, or maybe not work with her, but she doesn't want to set herself apart in an alliance of 2." Which I feel like, I don't know, the lines are kind of already drawn, and it seems like it's just all pairs. So I don't know if Nina has much of a choice here, but I feel like that's the one. If they were to not pick their friend, I think Nina is more likely to not pick Shannel than Gottmik is to not pick Vanjie.
Who do you think she would pick? Because I have an idea who I think she might pick, but I want to know who
I
you think.
really don't know. I don't know who she would pick if not.
So there was a
Like,
comment made during Untucked about
mhm.
Roxxxy helping everybody out. I think Gottmik made it, but Nina also agreed with it. And then kind of compound on it too. I think she might possibly give the star to Roxxxy.
Okay, I could see that.
If it's not Chanel, I think it'll be Roxxxy. I can't imagine Nina giving it to anybody else outside of that. So, I mean, we'll find out next episode. It's some fun drama, some nice stuff to kind of leave the week on. I feel like, especially this early in the season when there usually isn't a whole lot of drama going on, being that the competition is still relatively new. I do think this initial twist here to give them an extra star to kind of get some drama going is actually really smart here for the season. So I'm kind of excited to see what happens next week. I kind of hope that maybe our expectations are a little bit thrown off, so the girls' expectations are thrown off as well too. So maybe we'll get some drama. You never know. I highly doubt it, but we could hope for it. Either way, Runways definitely bringing it. Lip syncs, eh, not so much. But we could hope for things to turn around here. Maybe when some of the other queens that are more known for their lip syncing skills start to win some challenges. So we'll still see here. We're still early on in the season. But next episode, I did want to kind of just quickly touch base here because we find out that next week seems like it's going to be maybe like a girl group challenge, but also make it a makeover in pairs because we get the preview here that it turns out they're going to be making over some local firefighters, which I'm like, okay, have them come over. I'm stuck in a tree or something. Like, I don't know, come rescue me. Anyway, it look based on the previews here, it looks like they're doing it like in pairs. But then they also mentioned that they're gonna go from firefighter to pop star. So it makes me wonder if they're gonna have to do also like a girl group performance as a trio. Um, there's a lot of factors feels like might be going into this one based it over than just a regular makeover challenge. Jack, did you have any final thoughts as we end out tonight's episode?
If it is a pop girl challenge, I it just seems like a very reminiscent of the makeover girl group challenge from season one of All Stars, which would be kind of fun to see happen again, I guess. So I wouldn't be mad about that. Um, I do think, however, that the makeover challenge is always one of my least favorite, but I certain queens who haven't gotten badges yet do have a good chance of possibly getting badges then this upcoming week, which would be fun to see. And finally, I guess on this episode, we do see some hinting at like strategy being played about the badges and the snips going on, which I really enjoy seeing. And I also enjoy seeing the girls talking a bit more about like what they would do. And I thought it was so funny that Roxxxy and Plastique both were trying to calculate how things would best move out because seeing the girls actually like think about these things instead of like on All Stars 7 where it seemed like everyone was just trying to play a very like fair who cares kind of game. It gives me something more to look forward to. Whether or not it actually happens, I'm excited for some of the girls to really think about it because we've had moments where the girls have really uh, kind of chopped each other down without anyone thinking about it. The most infamous, I think, starting the whole trend being when Naomi Smalls reveals her lipstick to be the front runner of Manila in All Stars 4. So I hope we have another moment like that coming up this season.
And it's something you did bring up there that I thought was actually very interesting edit wise. And if I was watching Survivor, I'd be like, one of these two are the winner. When Plastique and Roxy did have that side by side like kind of confessional where they're kind of like sitting there like really like scoping things out and really like being like, okay, this is probably what I think is gonna happen. But I think that happened during Untucked, if I want to say so. I don't know if I could give too much credit to that as to say, that they're going to be maybe the most on the most. But I also kind of feel like Roxy and Plastique were one of the first pairs that we were introduced to. So I do think to some degree we are supposed to be rooting for both of them. So I like both of them. I wouldn't mind seeing either of them do well. So hopefully, especially Miss Roxy, she gets into the Miss Benefactress game with some badges here soon. Whiskers, I'm gonna give you the final thoughts for the episode here. What are your thoughts as we head into episode 4 of All Stars 9?
Yeah, it's been quite the season so far. The next episode, I'm interested to see what the challenge will even be. It seems kind of convoluted from what we've seen so far, like a mix of a girl group and makeover, and I don't know what it's gonna be, but I'm mostly excited, obviously, to see the reveal of who the extra benefactress badges go to. If there will be some trickery with that, or if there's going to be any drama or any fallout, or if it's just going to go the predicted route and they're going to stick with these pairs. But I'm hoping we have some more twists and turns this season with as far as the strategy that the queens are putting into it. But yeah, it's been great so far. Obviously not in a lip sync department, but I feel like we've had 3 kind of different episodes that have provided different skill sets, or you need different skill sets to kind of succeed at them. So if we get yet again something new next episode, like you mentioned, just more room for some queens, maybe like Roxxxy to grab a win and get into the competition. So I'm mostly excited for the strategy. I hope we get something new. We don't always get strategy on Drag Race as we do in other reality TV shows like Survivor and Big Brother, but excited to see if maybe that will play a factor more this season.
And I would be here for it as well too. I would love some more strategy here because obviously, I know a little bit here about fashion or whatnot, but like social strategy, hear me all day. I will talk about it. It's not gonna matter, so. Um, Either way, whatever happens here, I'm very excited for what we have for the rest of the season here. As Nina said, we still have 8 more competition episodes before some stuff goes down here. So, obviously, there's still plenty of times for them to bring in some new original twists and turns to the competition, which I do think we could be getting. Hopefully, it won't be a situation again where it all comes down to just the very last episode to decide who gets to the finale. I really hope that we see them kind of earn it along the way here, and also hope that we get a good lip sync. I don't think that's too much to ask for. Don't think that's too much to ask for. Um, but you know what? I'm still enjoying the season. Otherwise, there's still so much good about the season here too that I'm very just I mean it's probably the spirit of charity or whatnot. Maybe it's the fact that this cast is again they're flawed but they're so likable. I'm just really enjoying the synergy, the dynamic that they have going on, and I'm very excited to kind of see where everything kind of shakes out as the season goes on. So yeah, I guess because of that, we're well over 2 hours here. So I guess we'll go ahead and call it a night here. But we'll be definitely back next week to discuss another episode. Maybe we'll have a full group here, maybe not, who knows. But as always, on behalf of my co-casters, Jack and Whiskers, just want to thank you all for listening. If you like or if you enjoyed the content, please make sure to like and subscribe because it definitely helps the content moving forward here to let us know what you guys are enjoying. And also, at the same time, make sure to comment and get the tea spilling because we want to hear your thoughts and opinions on the season as well too, y'all. So anyways, again, on behalf of Jack and Whiskers tonight, I am Renegade. Until next time, y'all, all better stay beautiful. All y'all benefactresses out there, okay? Stay cute. Until next time, y'all. Bye.
I